There are over 28 million small businesses today in the United States. It is my interest that someday I will become my own small business owner. On Thursday, October 24th, 2013, I set up an interview at the Bennett & Bennett Transportation Incorporated Company bus garage in Granite Falls, Minnesota. I interviewed Zach Hadfield, one of the co-owners at the bus garage at this location. I got this interview by scheduling an interview with Rory Bennett, the other co-owner of the bus garage. Due to some last-minute obligations that had come up, he was not available. Therefore, I interviewed Zach Hadfield instead. Through the duration of the interview, I felt very comfortable because I work on the job with Zach because he's my boss and because we joke around a lot. In the interview, I asked Zach quite a few questions. First, I asked what made him get into the business and what you needed to do to be a successful small business owner. He said that it's very important to be excited about what you're doing and to have a positive attitude about doing it. Then I asked what kind of background knowledge he had and what kind of schooling he had to do to become a small business owner. He said that he had an associate's degree in technology that he got from Utah State University, and that he had acquired some experience from hands-on stuff when he was younger. When I asked him what was the most important thing to do when becoming a small business owner, he said you have to be responsible. That way you get all your trips scheduled, and that way you always have a bus driver scheduled. If you don't have all these things lined up, then you don't get your trips out and you don't get any business. When I asked him what the biggest change in his life was after becoming a small business owner, he said that he'd become a lot more stressed out. But he also mentioned that it was very important to maintain a positive attitude and that it'd all work out. Then I asked what kind of communication skills you need to have. He said it's very important to have good people skills and to be able to talk to them. That way you get your point across and they know what you're saying. When I asked him how he communicates most often, he said he communicates most often by phone, whether it being text message or by talking on the phone. He also said that he sometimes communicates by email. When I asked him how important it was to communicate, he said it's very important, that way you get your trips out. I asked him what kind of tactics he uses when communicating with people. He says that he communicates with people based off of their comprehension level. You don't want to talk to a 30-year-old like a 3-year-old, and you don't want to talk to a 3-year-old like an 80-year-old. Also, he said, when you want to get your point across, you have to have a firm and authoritative voice when giving directions. If you ask nice and politely, he says a lot of the time the job just doesn't get done. Then I asked if he ever speaks in front of public audiences and what kind of tactics he uses for doing that. He says that when he does this, he does it quite often, and that the biggest thing to do is to make sure you research. Also, he says that you should throw in a couple of personal experiences to get to know the audience and to tell a joke or two. Then I asked him if he thought it was more important to be a good speaker or to be a good listener. He said it's more important to listen, that way you know when to speak, and that way you know what they're saying. Then I asked if he thinks anyone ever masters becoming a good speaker or becoming a good listener, and he says that no one ever does because you always can improve. After asking Zach these questions about becoming a small business owner, I thought it was definitely beneficial for me to become my own small business owner. I was surprised that being more aggressive when telling people to do works better than to being nice and polite. In the wise words of Zach, you can't talk to an 80-year-old man like he's 3, and you can't talk to a 3-year-old like he's 80.